car's broke down. He couldn't make it to church this morning. So you just get me. But that means you get out of here early. Because I'm not going to sit here and talk to you for an hour and a half. I promise. What? Oh, I thought you said good. As soon as Ben comes in and sits down, we can start. So as you guys know, we've been talking about the 38 commandments of Jesus. And believe it or not, we're whipping through the list. We've done about half of them. I'm going to cover 3 today and 1 next week that are kind of tied together. These are what I'm going to preach this morning is difficult for me. Because as somebody, let me try and make this make sense in English. When you become a husband and a father, regardless of what the world tries to tell you, and I have no experience being a mother, so I can't talk about it, right? But I'm sure it's the same kind of thing for mothers and wives. But as a husband and a father, I am the ultimate responsibility. Meaning if something goes wrong and it can't be fixed by the children or the wife, it has to be fixed by me. If it's not fixed by me, then I'm a failure. I'm sure you guys understand that, right? That makes you worry. That makes you worry about stuff that you never thought you'd ever worry about. And I tend to be pretty laid back. I tend to not worry, especially about physical safety. I'd say my wife does. So like, my youngest kid drives a motorcycle as his main form of transportation. Doesn't bother me one bit. I'm pretty sure she doesn't sleep because he drives a motorcycle. But the pressure of being in the role that God gave me makes it very difficult for me not to worry. At the same point in time, I'm also very faithful, which means that when I do worry, the first thing I do is tell myself not to worry because God hasn't. That doesn't always work. Not even going to pretend it does. But Jesus tells us in Matthew 6 not to worry. And we can go in deeper we're going to go in deeper into some of the stuff that he talks about, but he tells us not to worry about our material needs. If your health is moderate to okay, you're only worried about money. Think about that. In your entire life, if you're not sliding downhill health-wise, the only thing you're worried about is money. It's absolutely insane, isn't it? And yet, every single one of us that has been worried about money, or every single one of us that has been worried about being able to provide for people, if you look back on your life, you've made it. You've never not had what you needed to get to where you are. And we forget that. Right? And so we go through these phases where we panic, like, if you lose a job or, I don't know, you just pay off your car and you're getting ready to not have that car payment and then, you wreck your car. Just little things like that can throw your whole thing off. You lose your house and you're like, what are we going to do? And you end up renting an apartment and you get yourself back up on your feet. You've made it. It may not be how you intentioned, but you've made it. You've always been cared for. And so then when we stop and we think about our relationship with God, you say, okay, that makes sense, right? God has always cared for me. He's always made sure that I've been okay. But I still don't trust him 100% because I still worry. Now, there is a difference between worrying and planning ahead. Worrying and making a schedule. Right? Tomorrow morning, I've got to be on an airplane to fly back to up north. I have to plan ahead to be at the airport in time to go through security to get on the plane to make my flight. But does it make any sense for me to spend the rest of today worried about the plane crashing or it being delayed? No. Because that's not going to do anything, right? So look at what Jesus actually says. I'm going to actually read quite a chunk of scripture here because I think it's fascinating. Matthew 6, verse 25, if you want to follow along. I'll give you a couple seconds to get there. He's talking about, which we're going to go over another day, but he's talking about store your treasures in heaven, not on earth. And that is both financial and also spiritual. So he's going through, don't store up things that are going to be destroyed. Store up things that will never be destroyed. And then in verse 25, he starts in on this idea of us worrying. And he says, for this reason I say to you, do not be worried about your life as to what you will eat or what you will drink, nor for your body as to what you will put on. Well, let's just stop there real quick. Circumstances are a little bit different for us, as in we don't really have to worry about not being able to eat, right? I mean, generally speaking, if you're hungry in America, you can get food, especially as an adult. A child might be a different story because they have no access to be able to get to where they could get food. But you as a grown person, if you're hungry in America and you make the effort, you can get food. There's homeless shelters everywhere. Churches give out food. There's food banks. So we don't focus so much on the hunger thing here in this country. But how much emphasis is put on what we eat? How much money is spent on specialty nutrition? We eat, they have a whole freezer. I don't really consider it food, but they have a whole freezer section in the grocery store of stuff you can throw in the microwave that's low fat, low calorie. There are supplements out the wazoo, right? You can take this meal replacement shakes, workout, pre-workout, post-workout. This vitamin, this beet extract, this combination of plant extracts, palm leaf oil and whatever, acacia berry, blah, blah, blah. All of those specialty items come from us worrying about food. God said when he talked to Paul, because Paul was a Jew and was sent to preach to the non-Jews for a host of reasons, but one of them was because of Paul's stance before he had his conversion. In learning how to handle conversation and culture with the Gentiles, he was informed that everything is fit to eat. So God literally said, basically whatever you can find to put in your mouth that I created will be okay. Which is where we get things, like we eat pork or lobster. We have taken what is the emphasis of what Jesus was talking about, which is not worrying about where your meal comes from, to worrying so much about what is in our food and what we're putting in our body. Partly because of mistakes we've made with places like McDonald's or, God's fast food, Chick-fil-A. Still bad for you. Regardless of whether you think it's God's fast food or not, if you go eat it every day, things aren't going to go well for you. So we've taken the worry from being provided for to being provided for properly. Like when God made broccoli, he put everything in broccoli that needs to be in broccoli for those of you that will eat broccoli. I will eat broccoli if it's covered in cheese. Like the cheese to broccoli ratio has to be about 50-50, which is a lot of cheese or very little broccoli. But God created broccoli. Broccoli's good for you, right? Fruits and vegetables, meat. It all has what it needs in it for us to survive. Yet we spend billions of dollars on additional things that we don't need. It's kind of strange how we turned the worry of being fed into the quality of our feed, so to speak. Not that we're cattle, but you know what I mean. And then culturally we make stupid mistakes because we want everything now. We want it instantly. So every restaurant that exists that we can go get food instantly from has turned into garbage, which then multiplies our fear of food. Because if you guys eat fast food, I don't know if you do or not, but if you eat those French fries from McDonald's, or if you left those French fries on your dash, they probably look the same. Not to be gross, but those French fries, your body does not digest them. They come out however you chewed them up. And you could leave them on your dash for months, winter or summer, and they would just sit up there looking exactly like they did the day you bought them. That quickness obsession has led to advancing our obsession with what is in our food. When God says, look, just real simple. A couple ounces of meat a day, some fruit, some vegetables, and get on with it. I made broccoli. Broccoli's good, eat it. You can grow broccoli in your backyard. So we have to be careful. Because a lot of times, the things that we think Jesus is saying are correct, but there's also always with Jesus additional meaning there. So he tells us, look, don't worry about food. Don't worry about where your next meal is coming from. And we read that and we think, okay, well, I've got that one nailed because I'm not worried about food poverty. right? We can get food anywhere we want. But I am taking, I am spending $60 a month on Super Beats and $120 a month on protein replacement shakes and da da da. And God's like, just stop. Stop this obsession. Stop this worry. So I haven't got very far, have I? Verse 25 says, "For this reason I say to you, do not be worried about your life, as to what you will eat or what you will drink, nor for your body as to what you will put on." Okay. I have reached, some would say, maybe I've given up. I disagree. I have reached a point in my life that I no longer care what you think about what I have on. Don't care. If you think my Walmart jeans are ugly, don't care. You know why I buy them? Because they cost like $18. And I don't treat my clothes well. They don't last long. I'm not paying any more. I'm not paying $190, $200, whatever ridiculous amount of money for a pair of jeans. Not going to do it. If you ever see me in any sneakers other than my Converse, they come from Walmart. They cost $11. I don't care. And neither should you. How much money do you think is wasted on clothing every year? Depending on where you are, right? I could take you right now to Atlanta, or to Hilton Head, or down to Jekyll Island, and we can go into the shops there in all of those places, and I can get you to buy a $50 t-shirt. Why? Because we think those things are important. But again, you see, it's a replacement worry. How many people are worried about what they're going to wear tomorrow? Like, not worried about what outfit you're going to wear, but like, do you have to go home and scrounge to find a pair of shoes to put on or a pair of pants or whatever you're wearing? No. Some of you might be a little disappointed when you get home and realize you have to do laundry, or that it's still in the dryer, or that it didn't make it to the dryer, and now you got to wash it again because now it stinks because it's been sitting in the washing machine for a week. But you know where your clothes are, right? So we can't be worried. As a society, as Christians, Jesus cannot be talking to us about worrying about where our clothes are coming from. He must be trying to tell us something else. Stop putting so much importance on what you are wearing. You know, I wear these big, gigantic fleece sweatshirt things that probably make me look like I weigh 800 pounds. I like them because they're big and baggy and I can wear a lot of layers underneath them, and I'm a cold person. I can buy one of these from Walmart or Old Navy or somewhere like that for $8, $10. Or I can buy the one from Patagonia for $140. Guess what? They're made in the same place. One of them has a label on it. One doesn't. Exact same factory. It's nuts. And we do that because we're pressured. We're pressured because society pressures us to not be confident in what God has created. Think about this. You know for a fact that if you have a little bit of protein and 3 vegetables on your plate and you eat that way every single night for dinner, that you are going to be healthy. You know it for a fact. Yet you will still be convinced to buy some concocted food that is supposedly better for you than nature, you will be impressed upon to buy sneakers from, I don't know, I just have no idea anymore. Sneakers from some manufacturer for $140 when literally you can buy $11 shoes from Walmart that are made in the exact same factory in the exact same way. But you're not confident in what God created. So you're not confident in the 3 vegetables and a little bit of protein, but you're also not confident in you. You see, God created you, and He made you the way you are, meaning the way you look. We should never, ever let somebody else tell us how we feel about ourselves, because we are created by God. So God says, this first verse, I'll read one more time. He says, "For this reason I say to you, do not be worried about your life as to what you will eat or what you will drink, nor for your body as to what you will put on." He goes on, he says, "Is not life more than food, and body more than clothing?" So all of these things, we're told not to worry, but then we take that worry because we misplace it, and now we put it on, these crazy food additives and nutrition garbage, and then the clothing thing, and we just take the worry and we push it away, and we say, well, I'm handling life because I'm not worried about where my food's coming from, or I'm handling life because I'm not worried about where my clothes are coming from, and Jesus is saying, no. Stop camouflaging what I'm asking you. He goes on, he says, "Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow, nor reap, nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them." Y'all ever stop and think about this? Like, for real, stop and think about it? Do you know what a bird does? Exactly what God tells them to. Y'all ever just pause on that one? I have these bluebirds on my property. I love them. I want them all to be my friends. And I want them to come and land on me and talk to me and stuff, right? I absolutely love them. I would never keep them in a cage, but I build these little houses that only the bluebirds can get into. Yeah, specific diameter hole. And I put a house up probably once a year. I have little bluebird houses all over my property. Those bluebirds are only here for 4 months. And they come, the same pair has come back for the past 7 years. Or I assume it's the same pair. I don't know. I don't check their ID when they come back. But in one of the birdhouses, the same pairs kept coming back. Every year they come back. They give birth to their little babies. They train their little babies to fly, and then they go wherever they go. I could go tomorrow. Well, that would be mean. In May, I could go and knock down all my bluebird houses so that those bluebirds didn't have a place to live anymore. Do you know that they would be just fine? Because they do exactly what God tells them to do. They don't worry about tomorrow. You ever seen a bird with a planting schedule? Calendar? Email? No. You know why? Doesn't matter. You ever see a bird with pants on? Minus those weird people that dress their chickens. Okay. You ever seen a bird with a jacket on or a winter hat? You know why? Because they completely rely on God. Completely rely on God. We need to exercise that. And if you look, sorry ladies, but in the bird world, the male birds are the pretty ones. I don't know why. But some of those birds are absolutely amazing. the detail and the colors and stuff, right? Verse 26, look at the birds of the air. They do not sow, nor reap, nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not worth much more than they? So, he asks a question. He says, aren't you worth more than a bird? Your answer should always be yes, without hesitation. You, as a human being that can create other human beings, can influence other human beings, and can raise the quantity of human beings that are in heaven worshiping God, you are more valuable than a bird. Now, let me show you where you're ignoring this. How many people... I'm not going to ask that. That'll just make me hostile. We got rid of plastic straws to save sea turtles. Sea turtles don't eat plastic straws. There's never ever been a recorded case of a sea turtle eating a plastic straw. Yet we have companies that are now producing paper straws, which are disgusting. If you make paper straws, I just don't think you should exist. We have people buying metal straws. Can I even begin to explain the resources it takes to go in to build a metal straw as opposed to the 4,000 plastic straws you'll use during your life? Metal straw is absolutely absurd, extremely unenvironmentally friendly. But you do these things because you think that a sea turtle is more important than you. Except when it's not convenient. Do you know what sea turtles do eat that they shouldn't? Shopping bags. Why do they eat shopping bags? Because they're stupid? No. Because shopping bags in the ocean look just like jellyfish. If a sea turtle eats a shopping bag, it'll probably die. How many of you still use plastic shopping bags? Okay. Yeah. See how that works? So you'll buy the metal straw. You'll be okay with, sucking your drink from Whole Foods or whatever through a disgusting, wet, soppy paper straw. But when it comes to the wisdom and common sense of God, we still go to Walmart or to Food Line and come home with plastic bags. All of that is tied into this idea that you are being convinced by culture that you are not as important as the animals on this earth. That is a lie. You are far more important than any animal. Should human beings be good stewards? Yes. Should we try to take care of the earth and not throw plastic straws into the water? Yeah, we should probably try. Are we, in America, the main polluters in the world? No. Except for one case. Does anybody here have recycling? Little blue trash can you put your stuff in? We don't do that around here, do we? Yeah. Thank God for that. A lot of major cities, they have recycling. They have 2 trash cans. Sometimes they even have 3. One's blue, one's brown, and one's yellow. I don't know which one's which, but I know your trash goes in one and then other stuff, glass and cardboard, go in the other 2. Do y'all know where all of the plastic from the United States that is collected for recycling, do you know where it goes? Anybody have any idea? It's loaded on a cargo ship, sent back to China, and put in a landfill. Because it's cheaper to bury it in somebody else's backyard than to deal with it. Okay? We do these stupid things because we are being convinced that animals have more value than a human being. It's also to belittle babies. Right? Because if a human being has no value, then we can abort whoever we can abort. And keep the human population low because there's too many people on this planet. That's what you're being taught. That we're so bad that we're changing the environment. We're so bad that we're making weather be weird. Weather's been weird. Weather always will be weird. There'll always be hot years. There'll always be dry years. There'll always be cold years. There'll always be wet years. There'll always be something different. There'll always be that one hurricane that came through that was unlike any other hurricane. We just had a volcanic eruption out in the middle of the ocean that put more pollution into the air than human beings have since they've been alive. God's in control. So don't let anybody convince you that you're not more important than a bird. Don't let anybody convince you that God is not in control, because all of those things play into your worries. Do you know how many little kids are like devastatingly, nervously worried about global warming? It's absolutely ridiculous. I read some article this morning about how the wetlands in North Carolina and Virginia are growing. And they're growing because we're doing a better job of taking care of our areas and our drainage and our runoff. Well, when these wetland areas grow, they bring in salt water, and the salt water kills trees. And there was a whole article in the New Yorker or the New York Times or something about all these ghost forests that are being caused by global warming, when what it actually is we've stopped letting our freshwater runoff ruin the areas that should be saltwater. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Absolute stupidity. It all goes back to the culture war. What God created is not good enough for you to put in your body. You need to spend more money on better stuff. The clothing that you wear defines who you are, not the creation that God created. Now look, I'm not telling you to run around naked. Please don't. We have rules against that. It's frowned upon. Okay? We generally like people to have pants on. But it doesn't matter what pants you have on. It doesn't matter what jacket you wear. It doesn't matter what your haircut looks like. And all of those things, we worry, and what that does is that takes away from our faith and our relationship on God. I really want to close this up because I got to show you where Jesus did this in real life. Oh my gosh, where was I? Verse 27, and who of you, being worried, can add a single hour to his life? Worrying doesn't help anything, does it? You ever got a problem solved by worrying about it? No. You get a problem solved by looking for a solution, right? And why are you worried about clothing? Observe how the lilies of the field grow. They do not toil, nor do they spin. Yet I say to you that not even Solomon in all his glory clothed himself like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today and tomorrow is thrown into the furnace, will he not much more clothe you? Who's more important, you or the lawn? You. Who is the most important in God's eyes living creature on planet Earth? You are. Individually, each one of you. You are. It goes on and says, why are you worried about it, you of little faith? Do not worry then, saying, what will we eat, or what will we drink, or what will we wear for clothing? For the Gentiles eagerly seek all those things, for your heavenly Father knows that you need all of these things. Look, we all have the same requirements. Everybody needs to eat. Some of us need to eat less than we've been eating, but everybody needs to eat. Everybody needs to put clothes on. Nobody wants to see that. Just generally speaking, right? Everybody has the same insecurities. Everybody has the same worries. You see these people and you're like, man, they must have it all together. They don't. They're worried about the exact same stuff you're worried about. They're panicked about the exact same stuff. We're all the same when it comes to that. Look at verse 33. This is the important one. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Let me wrap this up. So we're going to go to Matthew 17 real quick, okay? Jesus and Peter, and probably everybody else, I don't know, it just talks about Jesus and Peter here, but they're traveling down the road to Emmaus, right, which is outside of Jerusalem, I don't know, 15, 20 miles, something like that. And when they get to Emmaus, they have a temple tax there. Now, the temple tax is a tax that they charge everybody once a year that is in town. Doesn't matter if you live there or not. If you happen to be there when the tax day comes, you're paying the tax. The temple tax was a tax to keep the temple up and operating and whatever, right? Because the temple used to be the center of town. Now, the temple tax was kind of a big deal because it was about 2 days worth of wages for every single person every year. So, we need to put this into modern day terms because we don't speak about ancient coins very often. But if I asked you today, you can't leave here today until you pay me $250 to keep this building running for the year, how many of you would have a problem paying it before you could leave this door? Meaning, did you bring your checkbook? Did you bring cash? Right? And how many of you would have a problem with the $250, especially since payday isn't till tomorrow? Probably a few of us, right? And we also might be a little just mad. Like, why do I have to pay $250? We'd all start clucking at each other. Right? So that's kind of what's happening here. And so I want you to be in this moment because I want you to see how God literally instructs us not to worry and then shows us by living example. The temple tax is due. When they, it's Capernaum, not Emmaus. When they came to Capernaum, those who collected the 2 drachma tax came to Peter and said, "Does your teacher not pay the 2 drachma tax?" So I guess if you're traveling in a group, the head of the group is responsible for paying the tax of the people that are in that group. So they come to Peter and they say, "Hey, your boss didn't pay the tax. Huh? We need to do something about that." Peter, being Peter, he says yes. Yeah, of course he pays it. I don't want to get in trouble. Oh my gosh, what's happening? Are we going to get hung up on the stake or locked in prison until somebody pays it? Yeah, no. Jesus he was counting it. We're getting ready to pay it. He's going to pay it. We'll be there in 5 minutes. Don't worry about it. Right? So when they came to Capernaum, those who collected 2 drachma tax came to Peter and said, "Does your teacher not pay the 2 drachma tax?" And he said, "Yes." And when he came into the house, Jesus spoke to him first, saying, "What do you think, Simon? From whom do the kings of the earth collect customs or poll tax? From their sons or from strangers?" Okay. Forget about the question about who does the king collect tax from. Because the point of that is that Jesus is king of the universe, therefore he should never be taxed. That's not what is important here. Where did Peter go to when he knew he was in trouble for not paying the tax? Where did he go? Who was in the house? Jesus. Where did Peter run to? Jesus. Did Peter stand outside and hem and haw and worry? Or did he go directly to God? Now look, it may seem a little easier because Jesus was there. And you could go stand in front of him and be like, "Dude, where's your wallet? We got a problem." probably be a little more polite than that, but you know what I'm saying. You could go stand in front of Jesus and be like, we got a thing, Chief. But do you realize that you can do that today? You just have to have the faith to understand that he's not literally standing there, but he's actually spiritually standing there. Right? So what is the commandment that Jesus gives us in Matthew 6 when he tells us in verse 33, what is the commandment that he gives us when we worry? What are we to do? Seek God first. Instead of sitting worrying, go to God immediately. What does Peter do? Mr. Nervous went running right to God. Peter was nervous about everything. Remember, he was the whole like, no, never heard of the guy. Remember? Peter was worried about getting in trouble all the time. First thing Peter does, tax man comes and says, you owe us tax. Peter goes, I'll be right back. Goes running to Jesus. What are you supposed to do when you come up on a problem? Run to Jesus. Does Jesus command us to worry? No, he commands us to not. Now look at this. I promise you I'll be done. When Peter said from strangers, right, meaning kings don't collect taxes from their sons, Jesus said to him in verse 26, then the sons are exempt. However, in verse 27, so that we do not offend them, we're going to pay them. Now look at his solution. Go to the sea and throw in a hook. What was Peter before he was a disciple? Fisherman. Was he comfortable with going to the sea and throwing in a hook? Yes. Was he a good fisherman? No. But he could probably catch a fish, right? So Jesus' solution, because Peter went running to Jesus, the solution that Jesus gives him is A, one that he's comfortable with, and B, something he can do. Go catch a fish, fisherman. Just one. You don't have to fill up the net. Just go catch one fish. So that we do not offend them, go to the sea and throw in a hook and take the first fish that comes up. Doesn't even have to be a whopper. First one you get on a hook, you pull it in. And when you open its mouth, you will find a shekel. That was enough to pay the tax. It wasn't extra. It wasn't, you will find a shekel, take that and give it to them for you and me. It wasn't take that and give it to them for you and me, get change, buy yourself a pack of gum, and we'll go get a new sofa from IKEA. It was take it and give it because that is exactly what you need. That is what you need to solve this problem so you do not have to worry. And isn't the solution a little weird? Anybody ever caught a fish before? Okay, those of you who have never caught a fish before, come over this afternoon. I'll give you a pole. You can experience it. You ever seen a dollar bill in a fish mouth? Me either. I've seen a pop top once, which was kind of weird. But I've never seen money. I've never caught a fish and been like, oh, ha, gold coin. Because I'd still be there fishing. Right? So not only does Jesus give us a solution that we understand is easy for us to complete and is kind of straightforward, go catch a fish, you're a fisherman, but he also makes sure that the results are one where we know that God was involved. Peter pulled up the fish, and lo and behold, there's a coin in the fish's mouth. Coins don't belong in fish's mouth. Fish don't eat coins. If you listen to God and you don't worry and you run to him, you seek his kingdom first, you seek him first. If you do those things, you are keeping his commandments. And by keeping his commandments, you will not worry, number one. And number two, you will see the fruits of you following his commandments because you will see the effect he has on your daily life. Because you will come across things that you know could only be from God. Like finding a fish in a coin's mouth when you need to pay your tax. So stop worrying. Stop worrying about everything. Stop it. God's in control. Go to him. Go to him first. Go to him fast. We are going to give you a little personal worship time this morning. I think it's good for us. So we're just going to play a little background music. Y'all just chill out, have a conversation with God. If you're worried about stuff, address it with Him now and let it go. And just enjoy the quiet time.
Without hope, with no place to begin. Your love made a way to let mercy come in. When death was arrested and my life began. Ash was redeemed, only beauty remains. And my orphan heart was given a name. My morning grew quiet, my feet rose to dance. When death was arrested and my life began. Oh, your grace, so free, washes over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. It's your endless love pouring down on us. You have made us new, now life begins with you. Released from my chains, I'm a prisoner no more. My shame was a ransom He faithfully bore. He canceled my debt and He called me His friend. When death was arrested and my life began. Oh, your grace, so free, washes over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. It's your endless love pouring down on us. You have made us new, now life begins with you. Our Savior displayed on the criminal's cross. Darkness rejoiced as though heaven had lost. But then Jesus arose with our freedom in hand. That's when death was arrested and my life began.
All right, guys, that's it for today. Hope nobody's pipes froze last night. You remember to bring the dog in. Good news is it's supposed to warm up a little bit this week, so get a little break from what we think is severe cold weather. We're going to try and do Bible study on Wednesday. And hopefully we'll have music next Sunday. Right? Yes? Yes? Even if we have to go pick Gabe up, we'll work it out. Okay. I appreciate you guys being here this morning. We love you. Jesus loves you way more. Y'all go have an awesome week. Live for the kingdom of God. Would love to see some people here on Wednesday. If not, next Sunday, 10:45. Y'all have a great one.